Discover the Women in Tech Trailblazers podcast, hosted by Tiffany Benitez. Here, the complexities of being a woman in the tech industry are unraveled through discussions on key issues, personal growth, and how to succeed despite systematic challenges. It's a source of empowerment and inspiration for all women at all stages of their tech careers. Welcome to Women in Tech Trailblazers. I am here today, Tiffany Benitez, the host of our episode of Women in Tech Trailblazers, and we are here with a topic that is so exciting. I know I say I do love all of our topics, but this one I think is near and dear to my heart. It's something I spend a lot of time in, and honestly, it touches each and every one of us. I don't care what career you're in, what background you're in, you're either learning about this or you're going to have to learn about this really, really quick. And so today we're going to be talking about women and the grand setup for AI's future. And today's guest, you guys, listen, have you ever just met someone and it was in a total random place, but you were like, this is my people? Okay, so that is who I'm going to introduce to you today. This is Stephanie Cheney, and she is a cross-functional leader, builder, and innovator who thrives at the intersection of business strategy, product development, and our favorite topic, AI. She's currently serving as the product director at Dual Boot Partners. She helps organizations harness AI to accelerate product discovery and execution. With more than 20 years of experience spanning startups, venture studios, and enterprise consulting, Stephanie has built high-led and performing teams, launched new revenue streams, and developed AI-powered tools that take products from idea to enterprise-ready code in hours. I didn't say days, weeks, months. So tune in there. I know we're all tired of waiting on the roadmaps, but she said hours. She is passionate about helping companies adapt to the future of work, where generalists, AI fluency, and cross-functional collaboration are key to staying competitive. And what does she do outside of her role? We like to kind of talk about that. So Stephanie is the co-founder of Flourished. It's an AI-powered insights platform for creatives. And at her core, she is a builder of products, businesses, and people, and she is driven by the challenge of creating something new, mentoring others, and using her skills to help organizations and individuals unlock their full potential. Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, I'm super excited. Yeah, so slight backstory, met Stephanie at an AI conference I was recently at, but let me tell you the value of what's on your clothing. I just had a Women in Tech shirt on because you guys know me, I'm always rocking something Women in Tech. And it just sparked her to say, hey, are you women in tech? And what does that mean? And so we've had incredible conversations from there. Stephanie, as you know, our podcast is really driven around this theme of authenticity. And I think we say this a lot, but everybody talks about authenticity, but what authenticity means to each and every one of us is different. And so as we bring incredible leaders on this call, we really like to dig in and understand, what does authenticity mean to you?
Yeah. So to me, authenticity is not being afraid of who you are. For a very long time, I struggled with being afraid of who I was because I wasn't a typical person. I would be scared to show I was in high school, I was coding and I was a girl, and it was weird, right? But I've realized now, especially in the age of AI, that's actually a really big superpower, is to be unique and different and to pick up different skills. So for me, being authentic is really leaning into who you are, not being afraid to show it, give your instincts, give your perspective, really trust in who you are, and don't be afraid to show it.
I love that. I would say for so long, and I think especially as women, I don't think it's always verbally told, but I think even, subliminally, we're always trying to fit into all these molds and boxes and what TV and magazine, and all those things. Yes. And I also am an outside of the template person. All that just felt really weird to me, and I didn't know anything else. I kept trying to fit into whatever that was. But I think you're right. Your real superpower is truly being able to know who you are, actually what makes you different, and then use that as your superpower to kind of thrive. So I really love that. I shared your incredible bio, and you have done and are doing some really incredible things, but talk to a little bit about your personal career journey in technology. And I know you talked a little bit about coding when you were younger, but what really inspired you to pursue this career path?
Yeah, so it was interesting. I don't have a very linear path into software engineering, into tech. It started when I was in 8th grade. The internet came out, and I was in AOL chat rooms. I mean, it was hilarious, right? And then I started picking up HTML coding, Fun fact, I had the #1 fan site for 98 degrees at one point. It was hilarious, right? And I loved coding. I loved technology. But then when I got to college, it was like, okay, I wanted to do so many things. And I ended up going a business route. And I owned a business for a very long time, but I knew at some point I needed to career change. And so when it was that pivot point, I was like, okay, what have I loved to do in the past? And it brought me back to, being in 8th grade, loving technology, coding. So I went to a software engineering boot camp, got a certificate, and that was my pathway into tech. What's really cool though, is that once I got into tech, I quickly accelerated into other positions because of that business background that I had. It was really neat to see that it was valued to have that experience outside of tech and then bring it into tech and then be able to get into roles like management and a managing director of a venture studio, and then now a product director.
Okay, so my favorite part is that you really shared that you took a non-traditional, non-linear path into technology. And I think we as women in particular, that wasn't my degree. I didn't go to school for that. We have also this big conception that tech is this big, huge, scary thing when, literally, if you use your cell phone, you use tech every single day. But we put this stigma around it. And then we start doing what we always do and measuring, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. So I'm glad that you shared that a certification is what really propelled you in, because you don't always have to leave what you've done and leave the degree you got and go back and get another degree. It doesn't always look like that. How can you really upskill yourself with certifications? How can you go learn a new skill set? I mean, really, it comes back to how you can sell yourself. So thank you for sharing that, because again, I think women need to hear that. It's not most of us, actually, most every woman I've talked to actually stumbled into technology or someone took a chance on them. We hear that a lot too. And I'm amazed at just how many people are just vulnerable enough to share, hey, this isn't the real way that most of us end up here. And also we're still wildly successful.
Yeah. And I'll say my boot camp experience was way harder than college. So don't discount that an employer is not going to value certification, because that was so intense. It was 4 months of day in, day out, really accelerated learning. And if you couldn't keep up, I mean, you were left behind. And so it was difficult, and it is valued, especially if you're a woman, to be able to make it through that kind of program speaks a lot.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Okay, so I do want to get to a nitty-gritty topic that I also think, especially with just how you dabbled in coding when you were younger, how you kind of ended up taking this path. Are you surrounded by, or have you been through that path? Have you been surrounded by mostly women, or has it been mostly men? Honestly, what has that looked like?
The tech piece of it, yes, mostly men. They have been great. I mean, I don't want to, there's a bias that sometimes women have that men treat them a certain way. Let's be honest, there is an element of that, but there's also wonderful men that have valued me in the rooms and have made me feel like I could speak, and they would make room for me. So yes, I have been surrounded by lots of men.
Yeah, I actually think you bring a really good point. So while we talk about women in technology and we talk about the numbers are skewed, I think there's a huge piece of that has nothing to do with men. So it's not that our numbers are skewed because men don't want us in the room. I feel like there may be a few one-offs, but mostly that's not the case. I think mostly there's some pieces that we have to own as women, such as we're super risk averse. We wait till everything's perfect and we meet every requirement until we apply for a job, versus just doing it, right? I think a lot of times we could follow kind of men's lead on that of just do it, just take the risk. I mean, the worst thing someone can say is no. So I knew the answer was going to be yes, that you're mostly surrounded by men, just because I know the national stats, but I also didn't want to put words in your mouth. Yeah. But yes. Okay. And then I think you shared also that there have been some incredibly powerful allies in your life that have propelled you. And I wholly agree with that too. Some of my most incredible mentors have been men. Honestly, I've had very few females that have helped propel me in that. And it's part of why we're doing what we're doing here today, is so that women and our next generation of girls can hear and see this before they're way down their career path and wait a minute, there aren't a lot of women here. And how do we start creating space for them now? So How have you, though, like with regards to gender bias in general? I think it's something we all kind of semi deal with, and it's not just because there's only a few of us in the room. But how throughout your career have you really navigated when you have encountered a particular situation with gender bias? Like, how have you really navigated that to really help lead to success?
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, when you're in a room full of men and honestly, they're brilliant, right? There's some that are like CTOs that can really talk, you know, so much about technology and really dive deep in ways that maybe like my brain doesn't go. It can be very easy to like fall into that bias of we're not as smart or we don't think as deep or we don't, you know, you name it. We talk ourselves into that. I think the danger is actually believing that. When we believe that, it silences us. And sometimes it's not the men in the room that's causing us, it's us. And I'm not saying that's always the case, obviously, but the danger is when you start believing that yourself. And I struggle with this. Like, I'll be honest, I struggle with it a lot. And how I get around that is I have to remember that I bring a totally different perspective. I'm not going to compete with them on the same strength because that, like, why would I go and compete with them there? I'm strong in a different area and they need me to bring a unique perspective and they need me to speak up in different ways. So I'm not going to echo what they say because, you know, if it's a room full of men, they might be saying the same thing, but they need that woman to bring a whole nother perspective.
I really love that. And I think like we're all created different on purpose. And I think being able to leverage again, like we talked about in the beginning, the things that make you different, like those are mostly your strengths. So you need to like stop trying to change all of that, like really hone into what makes you different and allow that to really be your superpower. Okay. I want to talk about, I know we're talking about AI here today, and I really want to talk about, so as AI continues to like develop and flourish and grow, I think it's really starting to blur some of the lines between technology and business. It used to be very clear cut and very segmented, and now it's getting a little bit blurry. And so I think, though, in the blurriness, women are positioned in a particular place that will really help connect the two worlds. And I'd like to know your perspective. Like, how do you think that women are really uniquely positioned to influence the way these two worlds are going to connect? Before we jump back in, a quick thank you to Women in Technology of Northwest Arkansas for being part of this journey. We cannot thank them enough. They continue to create space for women to grow, connect, and lead in tech. Let's get back to the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, at the conference that we were at, I heard this a lot from women that we are natural prompters. Like if you think about AI, you get the most value out of AI by giving it the right prompts, the right context, and like women just do that naturally. We communicate really well, we give a lot more details, we give good context. And so I think women are uniquely like gifted in that already. Like we don't have to stretch ourselves to be good prompters and give good context. We already do that. So I think women are going to be uniquely positioned because we are going to be in a place to give that, you know, right context. And then we're also, you know, people who bridge things. So like, you know, we're constantly making connections between two disparate things. And that's in the age of AI, that's what you're going to have to do because these low-level automated tasks are going to be handled by AI, but strategy is going to be important. And so women who can look across domains and see gaps and bring a strategy out of it, they're going to be very powerful in the age of AI.
I love that. And I think I heard you mention a couple of these as you just talked about how we're going to like bring this all together and connect. But what types of roles and leadership roles should women really be claiming right now? And what I mean by right now is like we're in the shaping. And so as we're in the shaping and developing how AI is going to be built, how it's being governed, how it's applied, and really aligns back to what real business value is, we're all in the beginning stages of shaping all of that. So for women, what guidance would you say of like what roles and even leadership or non, right? Like which roles should women really start stepping into now and like making their career paths and claiming to be able to do this?
Yeah, I think there's several roles. So like if you're not in tech at all and you're wanting to get into tech, I would say start looking at some product roles. Just because of the way AI is, requirements gathering is going to be huge. And so where does that land? Where does that fall? It's usually on product people. And so right now, if you go and look at an AI product manager, they're in very high demand. Because even though AI is going to automate things and accelerate things, if it's junk in, it's junk out. So the person who's going to gather those requirements, they're going to be crucial. So I would say if you're not in tech and you're looking to get in tech, look at these roles in product, AI product manager. That's a good entry way to get into AI. If you are already cross-functional and you're already, in tech, what's really cool is all these new roles that are popping up like all over the place. They're really creative. They don't even have a standard title. You're starting to see like Chief AI Officer pop up, VP of, digital transformation. I've even seen one like head of AI outcomes or something like that. So very different, unique roles that are being, shaped right now. And it's really cool that we can be part of that shaping.
Yeah, I absolutely love that and completely agree. I mean, the reality is there's so many new roles popping up. So while I would say like find a path, like you said, product is perfect, right? It's also product is perfect because even from AI aside, it allows you to think more strategically. It allows you to build those cross-functional relationships. And those skill sets are key, I think, for any role, and they make you even stronger. Like even if you decided for some reason to go like engineering after that, your ability to be able to talk to business, tell the story about how AI or engineering play into what they are really wanting and needing is key. So I really love that. Okay, the AI revolution. So we're just going to call it that. The AI revolution, it is moving at light speed. I think there's no debate there. Everything is moving really, really quick. And I think what matters in times such as this is that you know and are prepared to how to stay ahead of it. So you can really be proactive instead of reactive. And so I want to know, like, how can we as women really hone in to this whole everything that's happening in this AI revolution? And how do we make sure that we stay out in front of it and are prepared to kind of lead what's coming next?
Yeah, you'll hear me say this over and over again. I probably said it 10 times already, but the more cross-functional that you can get, the better. So that means every single person needs to be skilling up somewhere because we don't all know all the skills and skills are changing, skills are popping up. So I truly believe whether you're a woman or a man, you need to be becoming more cross-functional. You need to pick up those skills. Again, like as automated tasks are going to be taken over by AI, that nature of the work is shifting. It's going to become more strategic. It's going to be more general. So people who can go cross-domain, connect those dots, see the gaps, and really like execute initiatives, they're going to be in high valued in the workforce.
We got to stay in front of it. I think that's the key. And I think action is key, which means it's going to take intentional action from you to make sure that you're staying ahead of things. So tune in, like everyone, like hone into really making sure you're staying up to date, like invest in yourself, because that's exactly what it is. It's like, make that time in your schedule. None of us have time, but you can either take the time to do what's going to keep you where you are, or you can carve out a little bit of time to make sure you can stay ahead and invest in what your future looks like next. Okay. Community. I'm super passionate about community, and I'm never going to stop talking about the power of what happens when we come together and lock arms. We hear a lot of messages on division, and we focus a lot about how we're different. I mean, name it, religion, race, ethnicity, gender. I mean, there's just all the things that separate us. But I truly, truly believe we're better together. And that means like we got to come together, and it means we got to be a community. I want to know what you think the value in coming together as community is, especially in some support networks. I mean, just finding people that are interested in the same types of things as you. What value do you see in that? And then what networks would you suggest to others?
Yeah, so this was very eye-opening to me. When we were at that conference, I made it a goal to try to connect with as many women in AI and tech as possible. And so I sent out messages and I got 12 connections back. I mean, it was unbelievable how many women were just yearning for community and connection. And every single woman that I met with was very vulnerable. It was almost like meeting a long lost like sister. And it was very actually validating and freeing. One of the things that surfaced up to me, which was pretty enlightening, is that every single woman that I met had been through some type of corporate trauma, because a man honestly they didn't know what to do with a powerful woman that, was entering into the workplace and really commanding some attention. And so like, it was very interesting to see how much women were just yearning for this community. So with that said, I think it's really important to go to the local like women in tech organizations that you have, seeking out the women who are, they're out there. You just got to go find them. And sometimes that might even mean like sending out a LinkedIn message. I literally sent out a LinkedIn message to someone that I knew who was going to be there. And she accepted my message, and we met and we had an hour-long talk, and it was incredible. So be vulnerable and like stick yourself, insert yourself in ways that like put yourself in positions where you can meet women like this. Don't think that you're alone in this.
I heard like you said a lot of incredible things right there, but the thing that rang really loud to me is intentional. Like, you were very intentional about reaching out. You were very intentional. And listen, let's be real. That's not always comfortable. Some of us are introverts, some of us are extroverts. It's okay. But like, you still were intentional about making a connection. And I think it does take intentionality. You're, again, never going to have enough time. You're always going to be tired. But I always tell my teams, like, make sure that you at least do one external thing a month where you're connecting with community in some way, shape, or form. Figure out what that looks like. What are you passionate about? And again, I don't have it on their development plan, but I highly encourage them as they talk about, I want to grow in my career, because that is for your career, right? You investing in relationships. I mean, you and I both know jobs happen by relationships, right? Yep. But you need to have the skill sets that we're talking about here to sustain you. If someone, gets you the job, but you don't have the knowledge to be able to sustain, then you don't stay. And the goal is for us to kind of bring more women in and to stay. Okay, my least favorite time of every single show is we're coming up towards the end. There's always one question I ask at the end to every guest, and it's a little bit of a two-part question. So the first part is going to be, what legacy do you want to leave? And the back part of that is, if you could leave our listeners with one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh, great question. So what legacy do I hope to leave? I hope that people, when they see a woman, they don't automatically just go to, oh, that's a woman. Instead, they see that person for who they are, how unique they are, what value they bring. Again, I've never fit into a box. I've never neatly fit into a box. I was self-conscious for a very long time about that. And again, that's what makes me unique now, and I'm owning that and appreciating that now in my older age. But my hope is that others, especially women in tech, won't be judged or be limited by their gender, but they're going to be valued by who they are, just how unique they are. And then as far as a piece of advice for aspiring women, just don't overthink it. We overthink everything. I'm talking to myself. I overthink everything, but you have to take that chance. So I know it can be intimidating. You're entering into an industry that is male dominated. I hear so many women say, I'm not smart enough, or I don't have the aptitude to be an engineer. But Tiffany, as you and I know, you don't have to be an engineer. In the age of AI, it's really cool how AI is kind of leveling that playing field, because there's no expert in it. There's very few experts. It's so new. So you get a chance to now level up and skill up and be part of something that's transformational. So my advice is, don't overthink it. Just start that journey. Just go do it.
I love that so much. I don't know. I think about how much we pause and how much it's in the pause that we often overthink every single thing. And then the overthinking usually leads to us not doing whatever the thing is. Yeah. And so I love that so much. I am so incredibly grateful that we got to not only chat here today, but see how just showing up at a conference, y'all, there were 8,000 people there. Yes. And I mean, as you can imagine, there was a tiny fraction of women, but the women did rally. Like, they came together, they were intentional. They came to this conference. Again, we all knew that there wouldn't be a lot of women. We're clearly not necessarily there for that. But when we rallied together, man, that Women in Data and AI roundtable that I ran, like, they had to kick us out of the room. Like, no one yeah. would leave. And then we were like taking a group picture and throwing all of our badges in the floor. And listen, you know why we were throwing our badges in the floor? Because they were kicking us out, and we needed to take a picture of the badges so we could go LinkedIn connect with everyone. Oh, nice. So it's so powerful to see that when we're intentional, like you said, and really try to reach out. Like, how many people are afraid to reach out? How many people overthink like, oh my gosh, I don't know her. Should I reach out? But you just do it and look at all the incredible things that came out of it, including us sitting here today on it,
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been an incredible episode. I just love your energy. I love your intelligence. I love just being able to connect and have real authentic conversations. So thank you again so much for joining us. And to our audience, thank you so much for continuing to tune in and listen. We are super grateful for you. We have a ton of really awesome leaders and episodes up and coming. So stay tuned, like, subscribe, and we will see you guys next episode. You've been listening to the Women in Tech Trailblazers podcast. Thanks for being here. If something resonated with you, please share this episode with your friends, your colleagues, or anyone you know that needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe to catch what's next. We'll be back soon with more real stories and honest conversations. Until then, keep showing up and let's keep making space at the table.